You can follow him on Twitter at TalkMMA. Dizz, the Underground MMA Insider Extraordinaire. Talk some UFC 202, which goes down tonight. McGregor versus Diaz 2. How you doing, my friend?
Hey. Mr. Hennig, Josh Hennig, ESPN 97.3 South Jersey. How's everybody doing?
I'm doing all right, my friend. So let's get into this. So McGregor Diaz 2 is finally here. Enough of the craziness. The night is finally here. And yet it seems like McGregor can't go a day, a week, or anything without putting himself in the news for something. And I'm going to start off with this because I asked Michael Bisping this yesterday, and you could tell the way he answered the question. He couldn't give the full answer he wanted, but he was trying to be diplomatic about it. I personally have Conor McGregor fatigue. I'm over it. Like, the dude has more to say. He's on TV as much as the Kardashians, I feel like. And it's like, at some point, I just want you to fight and stop talking.
Yeah, but that's how the guy's making his money, though. Let's go back a little bit to the press conference. I mean, would there still be that much interest in this card tonight if that incident at the press conference hadn't taken place?
I assume there would.
I would hope that there would be, but despite Dana, Conor, don't throw that. Well, I think that almost sounded like Dana just going through the motions, because it's like, hey, I'm the president. I'm supposed to say don't throw that, but behind closed doors, is he looking at the jump in pay-per-view buys that this is going to get just because of the incident?
Well, that, and also the fact that going into today, there were a bunch of unsold tickets to seats. And they were the expensive seats.
Yeah, I wonder how that's changed. There's a guy that I've been looking at online from a different website that I tend to support. He's been on top of that, so I'm probably going to have to get in touch with him and see actually what has been sold up to date, or just go to Ticketmaster and just check out the venue seats anyways. So yeah, this looks like, typically for UFC events, a lot of the Vegas events will sell either same day or day prior anyways, especially if there is drama going on between the two fighters in the main event. It's not unusual.
We're talking with Dizz from Talk MMA. You can follow him on Twitter at Talk MMA for all your MMA news and any other random spat-offs that he may have about random topics. Also a very avid Andrew Luck supporter. So
I am, yeah. Met Andrew Luck a couple of months ago, and I got to tell you, if anybody who's listening to this is interested in knowing about Andrew Luck's mindset, he looked very hungry, and he looked like he had, obviously he was supporting his book club at Riley Children's Hospital. My son was hospitalized there, so my son got an opportunity to meet him, but he also looked like he had that last season chip on his shoulder, like how disgusted he was with the season before. He looks very hungry.
All right, let's get back to the UFC here. McGregor versus Diaz 2. It's back at 170 again. McGregor's trying to prove a point. But at the weigh-ins, I noticed that physically he didn't look that much different. So do you think this fight will end up finishing differently?
Okay, so I've been thinking about this for the entire week, and I was saying to myself, it's just going to be the same result, just a little bit later. But just something about Conor McGregor makes you say, man, but what if? And I get this what if feeling from McGregor right now. What if? What if that $300,000 he spent on extra training, really did work? I don't think it's really going to, because it's hard. But he said he's ready for his jiu-jitsu. Bring your jiu-jitsu. 3 months is not going to equal 20-plus years on the mat. Nate Diaz has put his time on that mat in jiu-jitsu. There is nothing that Conor McGregor can learn in 3 months that Nate Diaz has not seen over the years on the mat and his work that he's put in. I still say that it's going to be the same result. I'm picking Nate Diaz to win tonight. Same result, just later, late round 3, maybe early round 4. But I don't see this fight turning out any different. And then I see Conor heading back down to 145.
Is Conor only a favorite on the books because of his name?
No, I would have to say no. I don't think it has to do with his name. I think if this was, everybody considers Stephen Wonderboy Thompson a gentleman. I think that even if this was Stephen Thompson doing this, and with the way if Stephen Thompson were to talk the talk and walk the walk that McGregor has been walking, I still think it would be the same thing. It just depends on the fighter, and it depends on them selling their part and making it convincing. If you're convincing, I could come out there and say, hey, listen, I just found out that Twinkies, is a legitimate source of, a legitimate food group and a dietary plan. And if I'm convincing by it, people start eating Twinkies. And I'm just saying that as a horrible analogy, but I'm just saying, it doesn't matter. You can sell ice to an Eskimo, and it could be, as long as you're convincing, they're going to buy it. It's all about convincing the crowd, and that's what Conor McGregor is doing. He is convincing everybody, hey, I've got a huge possibility of winning here tonight.
Sports Bash Saturday here on 97.3 ESPN. We're previewing UFC 202 tonight. The Diaz boys are coming into this. Nick is coming off his suspension. Nate's fighting again. But what is Nate's future, win or lose? He's kind of like the unsung, overlooked guy, but he may end up winning tonight, and then what happens for him next? He's just beaten, the biggest prize horse in the sport twice.
Well, you guys have, there's rumors floating around right now that obviously we've got some lightweight pairings that look very interesting right now. What do you do? Do you give him to Eddie Alvarez? Eddie Alvarez is begging for a high-dollar fight. If he wins, this just ups Nate Diaz's stock. Do we give him Nate Diaz and say, hey, Eddie, you were looking for a money fight. Right here's the money.
Nate Diaz.
So what are we looking?
I was going to say,
what are we looking at here?
Well, Nate Diaz is also a guy who he has fought at both weight classes. He can go up and down. He's also the winner of 3 of his last 4 fights. And he's a guy, he's fought everybody. He's willing to fight people. It just always seemed like for him, it was a matter of how committed or interested he is and if the dollar amount's right.
Yeah, if anybody deserves a high payday, it's, anybody outside of Conor McGregor, it's definitely Nate Diaz. He's been in this game for a very long time. He's really never said no to an opponent. He fought Rory McDonald, for Pete's sake, at 170. What guy at 155 really does that? And, he may have got ragdolled, but he didn't say no. He'll fight anybody. That's just that mentality. That's his whole team's mentality. Never heard Jake Shields say no. I've never heard his brother Nick say no to anybody. He'll just fight anybody. Nick fought Anderson Silva. Now the promos that the Diaz brothers cut, you could probably hear them on any random rap, album. but God bless them. You got to love what they do and what they're bringing. And, the interest that these boys bring. And I got to admit, a long time ago, I couldn't stand the Diaz brothers, and they just won me over. Just over time, I was just like, they left. And I was like, wow. I
miss them.
This game really is less interesting without these guys. and so over time, it's just kind of like, nah, screw that. Get a Diaz brother. And I was just like, wait, am I saying this? Am I really saying this? I used to be huge critics. I'll shut up and fight. No, screw it. Go ahead. Talk some trash while you're in there. Go ahead. Hey, you're a Diaz brother. We expect this. Let's do it. And so I have to admit, having been one of their biggest critics, I support them. I like them. And it's a fight game. It's not tea time with Queen Elizabeth.
Exactly.
So
UFC 202 is tonight on pay-per-view. Also, the prelims are on Fox Sports 1, as per usual. All right, so you're going Diaz tonight, right?
I am going Diaz.
All right, I'm going Diaz as well. Let's go through the rest of the card, do a quick preview of each matchup, and then we'll make a pick. So the co-main event, very significant. The winner is probably going to get Daniel Cormier and fight for the title next. Anthony Johnson versus Glover Teixeira. Two guys, ridiculous amounts of power in their hands. Two guys who have fought for the belt previously and lost. What are your thoughts on this fight?
You know, first of all, let me say what an honor it is to open the MMA talk for Glover Teixeira. I like him a lot. Met him in Chicago. Anthony Johnson, man, I got to tell you, this is another one of those fights where you are saying to yourself, I mean, Johnson can always knock anybody out in the first round, but gets tired after round one. But this is a 3-round fight, actually. I think this is the first time in a while that Anthony Johnson has had a 3-round fight. I think he's been mostly involved in 5-rounders, has he not?
Yes, he's been headlining a lot of cards lately. Right.
So, with having said that, I think he's able to. I think that he's able to shorten his cardio a little bit more. Even though I have heard that he has been doing increased cardio workouts. His knockout power is going to be there. A lot of that is a combination of power and technique. So tonight, even though Glover's very durable, great grappler, I just kind of think that the new cardio regimen that Rumble is on, with a combination of his power and technique, I think he may knock out Glover Teixeira tonight.
I'm going to go with Johnson personally, just because I think that this is Johnson's time. I think Glover is on the wrong side of the hill. I think he's on the downward side of his career. I think he kind of missed that window a couple of years ago, because when he lost to Jones, he lost his very next fight. And I think because of that really pushed him and set him back. And he's been kind of fighting his way back up the ladder. And as a result, I think that, remember when he lost to Jones, he was about 33 turning 34. Now he's 36 turning 37. So I feel like Glover's on the wrong side of the hill. And I think Johnson is, I think this is Johnson's time. And I really want to see Johnson versus Cormier as well again.
Yeah, and if you look at the last three fights that Glover has had, Rashad Evans is, running away from the light heavyweight division, going down, considering, he's not really etched it in stone, he's heading back down to middleweight.
He should have gone down the middleweight a long time ago, but go on.
Long time ago. Patrick Cummings, nobody really cares about him. No, everybody, people are taking a day off in the middle of the week for Patrick Cummings. Ovin St. Preux, I think at that time he was just getting his feet wet, just starting to get into a stride,
Right.
But he did finish all of them in 1, 2, and 3 rounds. But when I'm looking at the resume, his compared to Rumble's, he knocked out Alexander Gustafsson, who arguably beat Daniel Cormier.
You mean John Jones?
Savaged him worse than John Jones did. Daniel Cormier even said that Alexander Gustafsson gave him a worse beating than Jones did. So, and we're talking, he knocked him out in round 1 under 3 minutes.
Right.
Taking out Jimmy Manawa. Bader, who is on the hunt for Cormier as well. That's a little bit more impressive of a resume than Patrick Cummings. So, having said that, even though I'm glad that he's, enjoyed a 3-fight win streak and, and all the recognition that's coming with it, I still say tonight is Rumble's night. And I do agree with you. I think this is Rumble's time to get back in the mix of things.
Next fight up is a welterweight matchup between Rick Story and Donald Cerrone. When I first saw this fight on the card, I started laughing because these are two guys who just say yes to every fight. And I think you're going to see someone get knocked out at some point. I don't know who. I don't know how. I mean, I have a guy who I'm picking, but I don't know how it's going to happen. But at some point, I think one of these guys is just going to connect, and the other guy's going to go down.
Donald Cowboy Cerrone is going to win this fight however he wants to win it. He's going to do it by technical knockout or submission, whichever he decides to do.
I'm picking Donald Cerrone by knockout in probably the second round.
Yeah, it's just Rick Story comes in. This fight is tailor-made for Donald Cerrone. Rick Story comes in, and he throws all F's out the windows and said, I'm just going to come in guns blazing, as the overly used cliche term is. And he just comes in and just starts swinging. And Cowboy knows that. He knows that he's just going to come in and start swinging wildly. So he's gonna be ready for that. And then he's gonna pick him apart. And if he knocks him down, he'll probably jump on him and probably try to submit him. If not, then he may hit him with strikes. So like I said, I think it's going to be however he wants to do it.
I'm going to try to pronounce the next guy's name. You can tell me how I do. Hyun Gayu Lim.
Hyun Gayu Lim. That is correct.
All right, he's facing Mike Perry. Who do you got?
Well, I mean, this is a fight that people should be watching with Gayu Lim. Mike Perry is undefeated, even though he's just came out of Battleground. He's 6-0, and not really a whole lot of people know who he is, and I mean that's not really their fault, but yeah, it is who it is. I mean, he's Gayu Lim. I mean, we've seen him fight in China. He's lost to Neil Magny most recently. He's also lost to Tarek Safadine. I think this is a good. They really would like to push him, and that way they have another Korean fighter back on a win streak. So I think having him up against Mike Perry probably is a good idea for them, and it's a good test to see if Mike Perry is arriving or not. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure, but isn't Mike Perry one of the guys that they scouted on looking for a fight?
Yes.
Okay, good. So yeah, that's who. I think he's either going to be a bust or he's arriving. So we'll see.
Well, I think Mike Perry's going to win the fight. So there.
That'll work.
Tim Means versus Hamasi. Who do you got?
Well, I like Sabah Hamasi. I'm kind of a little biased towards him because I like guys from American Top Team, but he also knocked out Jorge Patino, and people really should go look up that guy. The guy's got a pretty decent chin, and that was from another organization as well, Titan. He went on a 2-fight win streak with Titan, and then he's had victories in Bellator and a couple of other offshore. He fought for Strikeforce a long time ago when he was undefeated, but I still think this is Tim Means' fight. Tim Means has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder because of false reading through USADA. That seems to be happening a lot lately, and I've got up and down the card. I've got Diaz, Johnson, Cerrone. I've got. I'm going to be a contrarian. I'm going to say Gayu Lim wins tonight, and I'm going to say Tim Means also beats Hamasi.
I agree with that about Means over Hamasi. Real quick, because we're running out of time here, Graham Bant versus Mizugaki. Oh yeah,
Cody Garbrandt. He's bringing some heat. But Takeya Mizugaki's not a slouch.
I
think
going to
give it to him.
Yeah, I do too. I think Cody's going to win though by decision. I don't think it's going to be a finish here.
No, I mean Takeya Mizugaki in his last several fights has only been knocked out by Dominic Cruz. So Francisco Rivera is a hard hitter, and and didn't knock him out either. So. I guess it's all going to come down to grappling, but Cody Garbrandt's got great wrestling too, so that's something that Garbrandt doesn't have to worry about. If he's being outstruck, he could always resort to his wrestling.
Yeah. All right, my friend, I'm up against it. I got to go to break. I appreciate the time. UFC 202 is tonight on pay-per-view. The prelims are on Fox Sports 1. You can follow Dizz on Twitter at TalkMMA. Enjoy the fights tonight.
South Jersey, enjoy the fights tonight, guys.